Hello everyone, my name is Yara and today I'm going to be talking about books that remind me of Disney movies, part 2. So I think over a year ago now, well definitely over a year ago now, I made a video talking about books that remind me of Disney movies. If you didn't know, I love Disney movies and so they're always in the back of my head when I'm thinking about books, and a lot of times I can see a lot of similar vibes or even like similar story beats, and so I have a few more books today that remind me of Disney movies. And just like last time, these comparisons are more associations, not necessarily recommendations based off of those movies or vice versa, but they could be because they do have similar vibes in my mind. So without further ado, let's just get started. So the first pair I have is A Very Large Expansive Sea by Taha Mafi and High School Musical. So last time, I'm pretty sure I compared To All the Boys I Loved Before and High School Musical, and I still hold to that because I think they do have similar vibes, but that was before I read this book. Let me just break it down to you into like a skeleton of a plot. You have a girl who moves into this new school who is kind of different from everybody else. She ends up meeting and making friends with the star of the basketball team, but their friendship and potential relationship causes a big divide in the school community and a lot of outside struggle. And a lot of people think that the girl is ruining the guy's chances at a basketball career. Like, those are the exact same story beats in both stories. To be fair, these are not identical stories at all. A Very Large Expansive Sea is about a Muslim teenager who is living in a year after 9/11 and dealing with a lot of the Islamophobia that comes about that, especially as she starts getting involved with the star of the basketball team. So this is probably like a more serious version of High School Musical that deals with more than just high school drama, but definitely did not escape my mind that these two were very similar. So this next book actually has two movies that I think are very similar to it, and that's Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. And I think that Laszlo's story is Tangled and Sarai's story is Hunchback of Notre Dame. I mean, the story is literally called Strange the Dreamer, so, and Entangled, Rapunzel's like defining quality is that she's a dreamer, and they have that whole song called I Have a Dream. And also Laszlo is just really pure, like Rapunzel. And he's just really dedicated to see this one dream come to fruition. And then Sarai and her siblings are kind of locked up in this tower. I guess not locked up, they're kind of stuck where they are, and they dream of being able to return to normalcy and interact with other people, essentially embodied by the song Out There from Hunchback. And the character of Minya also is kind of a combination of Mother Gothel and Frodo in the sense that she manipulates these people into thinking that she has their best interests at heart, and how she convinces Sarai and her siblings that they won't be accepted out there because they're different. Tangled and Hunchback are some of my favorite movies, so I think that's why I love this book so much. The next one I have is The Scythe Trilogy by Neil Shusterman and Big Hero 6. And I'm looking at the more AI perspective part, which is why I'm holding up Thunderhead, because Thunderhead is the AI of the Scythe Trilogy. One of my favorite aspects, or probably my favorite aspect about the Scythe Trilogy is the Thunderhead, and how Shusterman was able to create such a human character in an AI and show him processing all these kind of human emotions and experiences to the point where you like love the Thunderhead. He's just as much as a character as everyone else. And same in Big Hero 6, I mean Baymax, the most adorable little AI ever to exist. And both stories really capitalize on the emotional impact of these AIs and how that affects the other characters and their relationships. And it's also probably the most moving part of both stories. I watched Big Hero 6 again relatively recently, and it's so good. And the next pairing I have is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo and The Princess and the Frog. What made me immediately compare these two together was the influence of food into the story. Like in this one, the main character is an aspiring chef, and throughout the stories we get recipes that she's making, and you can see just how much food and the culture of food really brings into her life. And food is also a really big connecting part between Tiana and her dad, and what she associates his memories with, and that's also kind of the case with this book. Food has a really big familial component to it, and both of these protagonists have circumstances that hinders them from being able to achieve their dreams. Like in Princess and the Frog, Tiana is black in 1920s New Orleans, and the main character of this book is Afro-Latina, but she's also a teen mom, so she has to kind of work around her different priorities and learn to figure out what she has to devote her time with given all her responsibilities. And there's also a little bit of a hate-to-love romance in each of these, so if that's your thing, definitely check both of them out if you haven't. And for this next pairing, I actually have 2 books with 1 Disney movie, and that's Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kemmerer and The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. I'm gonna put these down because I don't want to hold both of them. Oh yeah, and the movie I compared them to is Inside Out. So one of the main themes in Inside Out is emotions. Our main characters are emotions: joy, sadness, fear, anger, and envy, I think. Oh no, disgust, not envy. And one of the big messages is the kind of acceptance of the complicated mess that emotions are, and realizing that it's okay to let it out and not just be happy all the time. And Letters to the Lost and Astonishing Color of After are both hard-hitting contemporary novels that have the characters go through really big emotional journeys and learn to accept what they're dealing with or just cope with it in a different way. Like in The Astonishing Color of After, the main character, his mom has just committed suicide, so she's dealing with grief, and she's also learning more about depression and how that can affect someone's life. And then Letters to the Lost, we have Juliet, who is dealing with grief from her mother's death, as well as Declan, who kind of has a complicated past and feels a lot of internalized guilt and shame for things that were perhaps not his fault. And my favorite part of both of these stories was getting to see these characters really open up and realize that they can kind of just let go, that they can breathe, that they can cry, and that it's going to be okay. And also a big aspect of Inside Out was Joy and Sadness's relationship, and kind of how they always assumed they would butt heads, but in reality they were what they needed each other. And I think there's a story arc very similar to that in both Letters to the Lost and Astonishing Color of After. And the last pairing I have is The Lines We Cross by Renda Abdel Fattah and Zootopia. So if you didn't know, this book is about a girl named Mina who came to Australia as a young kid as a Muslim refugee, and a boy named Michael who is white, and his family kind of leads this, does lead this xenophobic organization. And when Mina moves to his school, they end up meeting, and he kind of has to rethink a lot of his preconceived notions about immigrants. And from that description you can kind of see why it reminded me of Zootopia, because Zootopia is an allegory about racism and xenophobia. But also further than that, something that I really liked about both Zootopia and The Lines We Cross is that the character development for the people who have to do the kind of relearning of preconceived notions doesn't just settle after like one good thing they do. Like Michael in this book really has to work to earn Mina's respect. His development can't be surface level, and Mina doesn't accept it if it's surface level, so that really shows how you really have to reorganize and rethink these internalized thoughts. And Zootopia, Judy, our hero, even though she thinks that she has the right ideas and doesn't hold any prejudice, it's revealed that she does have some internalized prejudice against the predators. And I really liked how both of these stories explored these themes in a very nuanced way. Anyway, those are all of the books that reminded me of Disney movies since I posted the last video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know if you want to see more to this series. I'll probably need to read a few more books before I can make more. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!